At 7 o'clock? Yep.
I did not see it. Maybe it was internal, thinking they are.
Call the meeting to order.
We did the last one.
Start with a prayer. O God, guard our homes, churches, and schools, and all therein from harm and destruction. Preserve the integrity of this nation, founded on religious principles, by protecting it from all enemies within and without. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Matt Zeb.
Here.
Tom Bergamini.
Here.
Carter Dickerson. Christy Arlinghouse.
Here.
Mike Daugherty.
Here.
Bob Mueller.
Here.
Okay. Next item is approval of the minutes, February 12th, council meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 12, 2018 council meeting.
Christie's made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Matt, second. Roll call.
Tom Bergamini.
Yes.
Christy Arlinghouse.
Yes.
Mike Daugherty.
Yes.
Bob Mueller.
Yes.
Matt Zeb.
Yes.
Fire Authority report. Mike?
Meetings next week, so not much has happened since the caucus meeting when I gave my report. Tom did ask a question about a run that was noted in the daily police report where Fort Mitchell backed us up at a car fire at the park. And that was because the fire department and EMS were doing, had a run back, I think it was on Village Drive with an infant not breathing. So Fort Mitchell came and backed us up across the street from the firehouse.
Okay. All right. Is that it?
That's it.
Thanks, Mike.
How many folks have showed up for the fish fries?
They've been a few.
I
Even
had
though it
a
says
guy.
no fish fry.
No, it says no
I had a
fish
guy who
fry.
works at. My wife and I are going to fish fry, and I was like, "The Crescent Spring?" Yeah. I said, "You have a good time." He's like, "Why did you say that?" Because it's not there. He said, "What?"
Yeah, they've got a few. They've got some signs out front now.
Yeah, I
There's
saw that,
on
yeah.
the message board and also some signs at the driveway.
Yeah, I'm sure it was probably it was more the first couple times
Yeah.
that we're looking.
Yeah. Okay, finance report. Matt?
Finance report, thanks to April, I got the numbers very quickly, so thank you, April, for that. So you have in front of you the 8-month report. So this is for the fiscal period ending February 28th. You'll see the revenues are continuing to drive, being led by really the life insurance premium. You know what, I realized I didn't update some of these comments on the right-hand side, so I apologize for that. But the numbers are updated. Again, the property taxes are up, the insurance premium tax is up, that's all going well. The license and permits, though, are down. So we're seeing kind of an odd fluctuation on that. I'll talk about that on the third page. Then you have the expenses listed here. Administration is actually down year over year. Public Works is down year over year. The safety services is up. Debt services is down. So the good news is 3 out of the 4 are down. 3 out of 4 expenses are down year over year. So you'll see kind of at the bottom of the page there. We currently have revenue in excess of expenses about 100. I'm going to use round numbers. 105,000 versus this year or prior year date was about 58,000. So we are definitely performing much better in this fiscal reporting year than the previous one. The second page is really kind of just a graphical representation of those numbers showing the revenue. Again, 70% of our revenue coming from taxes, 26% coming from license and permits, the vast majority of our revenue there. And then the breakdown of the expenses, which again, 57% of it is really for safety services, and then 20 and 20 for administration and public works. The interesting thing to note is the last page, which is really kind of a snapshot of the revenue, which I mentioned kind of briefly in my opening comments. So if you kind of see these two sections broken down, the top section really kind of being the property taxes and the insurance premium tax, that's doing very well. So up about 15% year over year, $1.3 million versus $1.1 million. Where we're seeing serious softening is in the payroll gross receipts, utilities franchise, the cable franchise is flat, and then liquor license fees is just down a little bit. So really payroll gross receipts is down almost 31% year over year. So that is a significant drop off.
Did anybody move out of the city that we know of?
Well, we certainly lost Outback Steakhouse, which was a significant taxpayer. April and I know was looking into some conversations with county to understand why it was such a significant drop off. I don't think we've officially uncovered anything yet, but it's a big drop. So we're trying to dig through that and figure out what's going on. So you kind of see in the top right corner again on our personal property tax and the real estate property tax year over year it's about 4%. Good that math works out because we took the compensating rate plus 4. So that math is working out exactly the way it was supposed to. So, but outside of the payroll gross receipts, everything else is performing very, very fine. Any questions?
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Mhm.
Public Works, Dewey.
Not much going on. We're working on the park up there, trying to get the park open for maybe this weekend. We got the soccer games going on, I believe, if it don't rain. And
it's supposed to
it'll
rain hard.
it'll definitely be open by the 24th. We have the Easter thing going on up at the park up there. And fixing potholes around through the city, keeping the drains and stuff clean. I have a pipe down on Amsterdam Road that goes across the road. Has a slippage on the one side, so I gotta go down there and look at that and see what we have to do to fix that. It's not a major deal. We put some barrels up. We're gonna take a look at it tomorrow, see what I have to do. That's it.
Thanks, Dewey. Okay. City Administrator in here. Mayor's report. I don't really have anything there other than the mayor's group meeting is Saturday at Fort Mitchell. I'll toot my own horn here, I guess, a little bit. I completed the 2-week course with the county EMS for CERT activity, which is Citizens Emergency Response Team, which they're creating throughout the county. Throughout northern Kentucky. There was 4 or 5 counties there, and it was very, very enlightening, and glad to be part of it.
How many folks completed that? Were you part of a big group?
70.
70. Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's great.
And they'll be ongoing, so, if anybody would be interested in taking the course, I don't know when the next one will be, but Steve Hensley will let us know. Okay, old business, update of economic development, Tom?
Two items. You have before you a copy of the revised Stage 1 plan for the CTM Crescent Springs project. This is the one that was discussed at the caucus meeting.
I don't have my glasses, I can't read it.
April, you had mentioned we had gotten larger copies of this, but I don't know if it's the same one.
Which plan is it?
It's the Panera project.
Panera.
I think you said you had received a copy of the Stage 1, but I think it was the very first set.
It might have been, I've
Yeah,
only
all right.
received
Well,
one
we'll see
set.
that you get another larger set, but this was submitted earlier this week to PDS. Couple of things on the plan. They've updated some items that sort of address some of the issues that we commented upon. With respect to the development plan, a copy of that has been submitted to them, and we have not yet heard back. So that's where they are now. As far as I know, this group has its plan before the Kent County Planning Commission on the first Thursday in April. So if that goes through, then Stage 1 will be complete. This past Friday, Bob and the mayor and Greg Sketch and I met with an adjoining property owner, talking about concepts of developing that property. This is the same quadrant. It's between Anderson, Harris, Ireland, and Buttermilk. Nothing is really finalized there. The one thing we did talk about, and this is something we ought to consider and probably have to work in conjunction with the folks building the Panera, is having one entry and access point for both developments. And I was just telling Matt, to give you a point of reference, from Anderson Road to Harris on that side of Buttermilk. In that little section, there are 11 curb cuts. If these developments go through, and if we're fortunate enough to get one curb cut, that would reduce 11 to 4. So the only drawback is the highway department looks like they're going to only approve a right in, a right out, and a left turn only, which means that if you're going outbound, you could turn left going into the property, but not turn left coming out of the property. And one of the things that KDOT had suggested to us, currently the entry point for Walgreens, people are going in, right out only, but they're also turning left onto Buttermilk. And the big concern there, that's a lot closer to the light. So the inquiry was, can the city do anything to prohibit a left turn there? I circulated an email to that effect. I think that may in part require action by the police department. But as you may recall, several years ago, and I want to say it, I'm not sure if People's Bank was there, it's where the dental office is now in the Tobin project. People were turning left there to get on the Buttermilk, which was not a move. So we ultimately made it so that it's right in, right out only. So we may have to do that on the other side. But that is the extent of economic development to date. One thing I did circulate today, and KDOT didn't forward this to me. Many people aren't aware of the fact, but there is a permanent traffic counter on the railroad bridge on Buttermilk Pike. And I circulated to you the most recent data they have. On average, there are more cars going through that section of Buttermilk Pike than there are. If you take the population of Crescent Springs and multiply it by 5, there's probably more cars going through it on a daily basis. So there is a lot of traffic coming through that point. And so.
Yeah, there always has been.
Always
Even
has
back
been.
in the 90s.
It's interesting because if you look at the data that I submitted, I think it goes back as far as 96, maybe a little earlier. But and for some reason, I can't understand why. At one time, it was up to 41,000 cars a day.
I was gonna say, I thought back in the 90s when I was on council, we had a traffic count done and it was 39,000 then.
Yeah.
That was when Walgreens was coming in and people were saying they're gonna create a lot of traffic.
No, there's
We-
traffic
the
is already
That's
there.
why they came here,
That's right.
because
Yeah.
Interesting enough, and there's an interactive site that if you go on the KDOT link, it shows you the different intersections in this area. What I didn't look at was the intersection at Dulwick and Erlanger Crescent Springs. I'd be curious as to what that is. I don't think that's a constant counter like this one is, but it does reflect, you know, a huge volume of traffic.
Yeah.
And so that's
On
where
that-
we are.
on that email that you sent, I tried to print those statistics off and it said you had to transfer it to a disk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Won't let you print it?
No, it won't let you print it.
Oh, interesting.
At least wouldn't let me print it. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah, because I know you can go live to it. It's an interactive
Yeah.
site, so.
One thing I'd add to what Tom was saying, Tyson contacted Lou to talk about Alex Walkabout, possibly coming back into Crescent Springs.
Yeah, they want to come back to
They want
Crescent.
to come back, and
Where
so
to?
they're looking at,
They're looking at different sites. that
We're
we
looking
have.
for property.
Well, they could now go up to the small area. I mean,
I think
IP
we're looking
zone.
all over.
Yeah,
But
Gave
They
them a
do
number of
heck of a
sites.
business.
I was impressed.
That young girl.
Would they like to tear
really
down that
has-
building next to Pee Wee's?
Well, that's,
yeah.
Bob, what is the status of that?
It is still under contract, and it's probably down to 30 days to hear on from PDS. If what Corporex wants to do will get approved
Corporex is looking at it?
for a client.
Wow.
And would their plans be to tear it down?
Yes.
No, improve it.
No,
I was praying, I had my fingers
I
crossed.
think it should burn it down.
I don't even think the fire department wants to touch that
Fire
one.
department wants to
No.
burn it down.
Well, I can't imagine all the rats and mice and everything.
Coincidentally, on Saturday morning, I noticed this. You know, we had a problem at the Buttermilk Town Center for a while where trucks were there overnight. They are now parking in the lot adjacent to where Oldenburg used to be. There were three,
Yeah.
Over in Fort Benton.
yeah, there were three tractor trailer trucks there in the morning. And I thought,
More abandoned.
huh?
Yeah.
It's more
It's
abandoned.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, more desolate.
But I just thought that was interesting.
There's still one every once in a while. We see the police report where the public works guys went and ran them off.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, that it, Tom?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, update on police service transition. Brian?
Thank you and hello. Just to let you know, we'll break it down in a couple areas. Personnel-wise, we have got our two officers into the academy for April, so that we anticipate an October graduation. They'll get on the road sometime around Christmas. We're now going to start hiring the other three officers that we're going to hire. We anticipate getting them in here sometime in May. First 2 weeks, depends on if they need school or not, because I'll send them to school first before we get into this contract, so that we don't have to take them out, put them into school during the fall. So it'll be either May early or mid, but they all should be on board by the June 27th date.
On board, but not necessarily on the road, correct?
Yeah, they'll be on the road. The three officers we're hiring will be on the road answering calls on June 27th.
So we'll only be
The two-
you'll be too short
I'll
on the
be
road?
too short, yes, sir. And then I've talked to a couple of members of council and the mayor. We'll fill the spots. We'll do some creative scheduling, but we will meet whatever requirements that you have asked us to meet. If it's through overtime, creative scheduling, whatever, Crystal Springs will have their cars, the amount of cars that they want in the city during those times. So,
And did you just lose another officer on your current staff? I saw on your website that you're still hiring police officers.
we put that out 365.
Okay.
We're always taking applications, but there is gonna be a change, but that's not gonna affect the hiring at all. Actually, we had an extra body. We had anticipated this a couple months back, so. So that's not a problem there.
So then we'll leave a force of 12
No, it'll be 13 when we're done.
with the person leaving?
I have one extra right now. I have
Oh,
9
so
officers right now.
So you have 9 now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. all right.
And then I'll hire the 5, and we'll have 13 counting me by the June 27th date. County, I believe, and Todd, you might be with this, June 27th, 10 a.m. is the switchover. County has decided they're gonna move Erlanger onto the system, Erlanger on the system, Ellesmere on the system, and switch over Crescent Springs. So June 27th at 10 a.m. Is tentative. We'll take over policing here. All the calls will be funneled to us. It's just a date that they had everybody available to make the switch over. Evidently, they have to have several different agencies there to make sure that everything goes right. So that's why it's, so it's 3 days, but it's really not a big deal. We can handle it. The radios, we're still working on the radios. We're getting closer, but we're not there yet, but we'll have that figured out by the time the 800 megahertz come in. I do have the radios set aside for when we take over Crescent Springs, so we have all that equipment ready to go. The cars have been ordered. They'll be in by the 1st of May, should be ready to go by June 1st. Everything else I need to order, I'll either have ordered or in by the time we take over in June. So we're good to go on that. And the retirement thing is still up in the air, but I think
Still haven't come out with a
we're pretty certain that we have the right,
finality.
we're pretty certain we have the right number in the contract.
Yeah.
I think we figured the right number in. So from everything I'm hearing, we will have. So.
Okay.
And that's really it. That's up to date. It's everything we got right now. I mean, it's going along smooth. We're just getting everything ready to go.
Okay.
We receive a daily report from Erlanger on the police activity, and I've noticed that you're not on there. I thought perhaps maybe Erlanger could start sending that to the chief to give him some idea about activity in the city and like some of our frequent people that are problem type people. So they get familiar with the names of the folks that causes the most grief.
It's fine, if you guys want to send it, it's fine.
You got his email address?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
Do you want something official from the city asking to do that, just to cover? Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Stay. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Todd, do you have anything you wanted to enlighten us with?
Nope, I'm here for any questions you got.
All right. Okay.
I've got one thing to say.
Okay.
Tom asked me about the park property, the Marshall property. And I just want to bring everybody up to date. The affidavit and the deed has been delivered to Marshall's attorney. I understand that they signed the affidavits. The deed came a little bit later, and I found out today, it was about 30 minutes ago, that Mr. Marshall is on his way out of the country, or if not already out of the country. So he cannot execute the deed until he returns, which will be late March, I'm told. So as soon as we get it back, we'll record, I'll have to have the mayor sign the deed for the consideration certificate, and we'll get the deed recorded. So probably be the end of the month. And on the police interlocal agreement, it has been received, signed, and returned by the Department of Local Government. It's been recorded with the county clerk. I got that back today also. I believe I still have to send a copy to the Secretary of State for some reason, but you know, I will be circulating that to April and send a copy to Bill Hills.
I had two things. Where do we stand on the honeysuckles project?
Oh, I don't know, that's with Carter.
Carter's
Has he met
supposed to
with you
do
yet?
it.
Carter's not gotten with me about that.
Okay.
So I have no idea what they're doing.
Has the letters
With the
gone
date or
out
anything.
to the citizens that are affected, the
I haven't-
residents?
Haven't heard anything.
No?
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And the Easter egg hunt is in a week from this Saturday. Everything's in place. We're changing the way the Easter Bunny does his bit. Instead of the Easter Bunny roving around and people trying to grab you to take pictures, we're going to
Am I
get
doing it
him
again?
sitting on bales
Aren't
of
you?
hay
Oh, I don't know.
with a backdrop.
Karen.
Okay, oh,
So be
No, you're not- you're not.
photogenic.
Yeah.
So be sure to look.
Mike's doing it. Other related services, you need that part of your contract.
I noticed I wasn't on here on the dates, so what is the date for that Easter in the Park?
24.
3/24?
At noon. We've changed the time to noon.
Okay, great, thank you.
And everybody starts at one time. It's not, this group starts here and
That's the best way.
bedlam happens. Everybody goes at once. And we'll start announcing that at 11:45.
Okay.
Yeah, do you have some siren to send off? Because I know hearing was a problem last year.
Well, I think we're gonna
Yeah.
get a fire department.
I was gonna check with the fire
Yeah.
department, to see if they could.
And
Yeah, because we used a PA system, but evidently the sound didn't go
Yeah,
down.
and that
to
PA
the
system's
trail.
fine, but yeah, you just can't project every angle,
Right.
right? So people over here heard it, but over there didn't. I'd say if you had just a big megaphone with a big horn or some air horn or something, just, I'd tell the crowd,
hopefully the
Cannon's
siren will be.
probably a little extreme.
Okay. New business, this isn't actually, well, it is new business and old business. Three Springs Townhomes, I can't think of her name now, I went
Three
blank.
Springs Townhouse.
Yeah.
Quota?
This one-
Winterberg, the
Oh,
Winterberg
Winterberg.
property.
Oh, okay.
Winterberg property.
Is that the name of the development, Three Springs?
Yeah.
Townhouse.
Yeah, they had, back last year, they had put in a stage one plan, and they didn't get the state financing that they were, had applied for. So it kind of went dormant. He came back, and this past Thursday, he stopped in and said that they're going to reapply for a stage one, since it was over a year ago, and there were some changes to the original plan. There's now going to be 40 units, where I think before there was 30. And
Who's doing this? What's the developer?
it's
11 Bravo Corporation.
Yeah, 11 Bravo.
But who is he that stopped by?
Well, he runs 11 Bravo,
Yeah, but
His name
what's his
is,
name?
what's his name?
yeah.
Well, Bravo.
Yeah,
Well, now this is his
Bravo.
first, this is his last.
Bravo,
He's,
Bravo.
he's,
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Bravo.
he's a ex-vet that, and these houses, I don't know his
Was
name.
it Thomas?
Thomas
Call
Thomas
me.
Krysowski, something like that.
That sounds good enough to me.
Kowalski.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds like Coach K.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to submit a whole new, he needs to submit a
Yeah,
new plan.
he is.
It's fairly significant
Right. There was.
increase in density.
This is the
Right.
apartments, right?
Did you say he
No,
did
no,
get
this
the
is-
KFC financing though?
Yeah, he's got the Kentucky financing.
Now, this
Yeah.
is the one over at Winterberg as opposed to the one over here.
Yeah.
This is the one up there behind
Winterberg.
AutoZone and.
Winterberg.
Did you get the issue?
What's the
of-
price range?
Well, that's, what
Uh,
is it, 2 acres up there?
I don't know if it says in here. or not.
Really deep. Yeah, good way.
Yeah, it must be deeper than I'm thinking.
There's 6 one-bedroom units, 24 two-bedroom units, and 10 three-bedroom units.
I think he's got some
They're
issues.
townhouses.
Yes, I'll just-
Yeah.
From what I.
Well,
Hmm.
yeah.
They are rental.
He might be. able
They're
to-
rental.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez, more rentals.
Of course.
Veterans will be given a price break. But he's going to file stage 1, probably, I guess, by April, the April meeting, but
That means it
Lou,
was
can you-
submitted last week.
submitted last week.
It would have to have
Okay.
been.
It was submitted on March 8th.
It was.
Yeah,
It's submitted.
yeah,
Can you scan whatever documents you have and circulate it to us all?
sure.
I'm making a, okay.
Oh, you already got them?
You gave them to me already.
Oh, yeah, okay. You'll
I'll
scan
send
them?
them.
Okay. And the other thing was the brochure is in front of everybody for the Kentucky Veterans Hall of Fame City. And the other thing is, I had asked April to look into OpenGov, and she's checked into that today and come up with prices on the cost of getting in and the yearly, which are
Outrageous.
significantly high.
In order to show just the financials on the website, the initial cost is approximately $11,000 with $4,000 to $5,000 a year just to have it.
Maintain.
If we would go with their full public transparency package, it is approximately $17,000 with $4,000 to $5,000 a year fee.
Is
Just
there any way
wanted
we
to give
can
you
do it
numbers.
with, let's say, the fire department?
I'm sorry?
Is there any way you can combine with another entity, like the fire department or Villa Hills decided to do it too?
They usually don't allow, the software companies usually don't allow it.
You know, I circulated last week in PDS what they've done. It's pretty interesting. It's a planning tool, the data you get off of it, so.
Well, most of this information is already
Well,
available.
I understand that, but a lot of that information takes a lot of legwork to find. Yeah. So far as I understand it, Park Hills, Fort Wright, Edgewood, Independence, and Kenton County have it.
And didn't you say you went on Edgewoods and you weren't really that impressed with what you saw?
Not really, I mean, if, the other alternative for us is we could actually put our budget sheets online on our website.
Okay.
To me, it kind of explains a little bit more without people digging and winding up with all these questions because they can't figure out what the numbers, what they mean
Right.
and what they're trying to pull.
I mean, if we could do that easily, that probably would be behoove us at least
I
a
mean, we could
start.
take the monthly report and just
Put that
upload
online,
it to the
yeah.
website.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I agree, be a lot more simple.
Yeah. Why don't we start doing
It's,
that?
it's pretty costly for
That's ridiculous. And
to
the
get the
other-
information that we already have.
And the other thing too, in April called them, and she had a call, they called her back. And and they shadowed a number in Alexandria. And then she said, why are you calling me from an Alexandria number? What, you go ahead and tell the story.
I just asked her, I said, why are you spoofing an Alexandria number to call me back? And they,
Alexandria, Kentucky.
Alexandria, Kentucky, 448 Exchange. Oh, well, we have businesses all over the place, and it just must have got all mixed up. I said, well, you do not have a business in Alexandria, Kentucky.
Really?
And, well, I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. I just thought that was a little
That's really
odd.
weird.
That was-
Yeah.
Oh,
Where are they
I was
based
here
at?
to say.
California?
California.
In Alexandria.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, I only live a mile down the road from there. I'm surely I'd know if they were there.
That's crazy.
You don't sound Alexandria.
Sound right to me.
One other piece of new business, and I forgot to mention this at the caucus meeting. In addition to the OpenGov, at the last PDS council board meeting, one of the things that was presented was in GIS, as well as Scott Hiles have offered to come to us. They did an inventory using GIS of Park Hills, of all the, it was specifically street signs, but I think they even covered sewer, entry points, pipes, and all that sort of stuff, and they put it on GIS. And it was pretty amazing how many signs are in Park Hills. And they do, one of the things with GIS is they just have this phenomenal amount of data that they can utilize to help cities. So if we do want them, they're willing to come and give us a presentation. It would be, I think the time that they both could be here would be at the April caucus meeting. But it was just kind of interesting to see how they could do it. And one of the things they point out is if you have a natural disaster and you lose the signs and you forgot what sign you had where and what it said, this data would be immediately available.
That's why we have George. He's got it all.
Yeah, we have books up there, we have all that stuff in case George is gone.
Or George's mind is gone.
Just hope
Yeah.
the books aren't gone.
There you go.
We still have 9 no parking signs on Squire Hill Court and Drive. We
Oh, I don't
used
know,
to.
I'd have to look and see.
9?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it happened when John
John
Mullins
Mullins,
was
yeah.
there, remember?
9 parking signs?
When there
There's
was
at least
somebody
2 I
that was
know.
parking and then cutting through the backyards and going to someone's home during the day. And so John wanted them to stop whatever was happening, so he had all these non-parking signs put up.
Wow.
I think there's only 2.
I think there's only
I think
2
there's
now.
only 2.
But yeah, we had 9 of them before you turned.
Do you have anything?
7 are in the back.
Yeah, but he didn't like what was going on, so we got 9 signs.
Other than them doing the core drilling on Pawnee Crescent Springs Road, is there anything new on that?
The judge will be here on,
The 9th, right?
no, the May council
Okay.
meeting
Okay.
to give us an update on Bromley Crescent
I
Springs Road.
thought he had mentioned.
It was changed from the
Okay,
9th.
okay.
What about the development over by the crossings? Is that still,
I
What
think
stage
they
are we at?
submitted a stage 1, haven't they? Wessels?
Wessels?
Wessels? I don't know. I don't know.
I thought they had sent that to you, April. I thought a stage 1 had been submitted.
Is that what I sent out? I
Yeah.
sent a letter out?
Yeah,
That's when you asked me for the plans, right? If we'd received the plans?
yeah,
Yes.
so that's
submitted.
that's where we stand with that?
right.
And that
They don't have
other,
any idea about,
Oh,
they don't have
timing.
any projection as far as breaking ground or anything like that yet?
Yeah.
that other condo development over at 11 acres, haven't heard any more back from them, so,
What kind of,
WODA?
load it,
oh, the one that's back here?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I didn't think those were condos, I thought those were also rentals.
Well, they're rentals, yeah,
Well, there's a difference.
yeah. Okay. The next finance meeting is March 21st. Our next caucus meeting's March 26th. And the office is closed on March 30th. With that said, I need a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.